What kind of impact is this going to have? Obviously, it's a momentous day for Ghana and for the oil industry as well, especially when it comes to Africa.
Yeah, well, it's in terms of volume, it's not a very, very big volume. I think that the field is going to produce some 120,000 barrels per day, and it's not a huge volume. But what is interesting is that it's a conventional crude oil, and when you look at the non-OPEC addition to crude oil in the coming months, we will have a lot of biofuel, we will have a lot of tar sands, and we will have a lot of things like that, but we will not have that many conventional crude oil. And if I understood well, it's a crude oil of very good quality that will be able to produce a lot of gas oil, a lot of diesel. And when you look at the demand that is coming now, it's mainly middle distillate demand, so that will have it will fit very well with demand, and that I think will help the crude to sell, and that will help the crude oil market in general.
Christophe, I mean, you're talking about very good quality oil coming through. Let's look at Africa as a whole and just the quality of crude that does come from the continent and how it fares relative to other oil producing nations.
Yeah, in general, it's a crude of good quality in Africa, depending where actually. It's the crude oil that is produced in Chad. It's not the same quality of crude oil that is produced in Nigeria or Congo, but of course, you have a lot of crude oil that is exported from West Africa to Asia to Europe, and in general, it's seeked for during the winter because it produces a lot of gas oil, heating oil that is it's a lot of used.
Let's touch on production lines going forward in 2011. Of course, there's other countries that are going to start producing oil next year. Is it going to be enough to meet the demand, or do you think that perhaps we could see oversupply?
I think that we will have largely enough crude oil to meet demand because, of course, we are expecting some 0.7 million barrels per day of non-OPEC production to arrive in 2011. But in addition to that, we'll have OPEC that is expected to increase production by roughly 1.3 million barrels per day. And right now, OPEC has a spare capacity of 6 million barrels per day. So there will be enough supply to meet demand largely in 2011, 2012, and up to 2013, I think.
Christophe, it's also been said that here in Africa we don't beneficiate enough from the resources that we produce. We know that Ghana is going to, of course, be selling off the crude to be refined elsewhere. Do you think this is a wise idea? Do you think that Ghana should be thinking about beneficiating inland?
I think that in general, it doesn't make much difference. In fact, you have to sell the crude oil where it can be sold at the best price. And in that case, I think that traders will buy crude oil from Ghana and will sell it worldwide. West African crude oil is exported in Europe, in Asia, in China. China is taking a lot of West African crude, and I think that you really have to find a place where you can sell the crude for the best price.
Well, Christophe, that said, what about contracts with Africa, and how do these contracts get formed going forward? Just looking at the spot price, do the producers get affected by that price, or do they usually sell below spot?
No, I think it's pretty much linked to the spot price. Usually, I don't know in that particular case what are the contracts, but in general what is happening is that the country sell its crude oil to an average of the spot price during the month. For example, you will be selling the crude oil at the dated Brent price for the average for January or February, and with a small differential up or down, but in general it's pretty much linked to market prices.
Christophe, you were saying that you're pretty happy with the supply that is going to come on board. Looking at the price range going forward for Brent crude, it's been said that next year we're going to top $100 a barrel. Some are even talking very close to the all-time high that we hit $140 a barrel. But if you're saying that demand and supply is going to be relatively balanced, what kind of levels are you looking at?
Right now, I am looking at prices close to $80 per barrel on average for 2011. In fact, again, what I was saying is that OPEC has still a lot of spare capacity, roughly 6 million barrels per day, and OPEC will use this capacity to put pressure on prices if prices went to the roof. So basically, I think that the prices around $80 per barrel appear reasonable now.
What about the inventory scenarios that are playing out as well? Because we have seen a drawdown in some of the inventories, and of course that coming through particularly in the US.
Yeah, when you look at the inventories, that will be short-term impact on crude oil prices. When you look at the latest data that were released by the weekly statistics in the US, you can see that there is a drop in crude oil stocks and an increase in product stocks. But I think that it's pretty much linked to the end-year tax games, and I think that it doesn't reflect any shortage of crude oil in the US.